Good day to everyone. I am reporter number 1 from the Module 4 Reporters. Which we will be report is the artists and artisans, art forms and artworks, production and curation processes, medium and technique of arts. Let us define first an artist and an artisans. Artist is a person who performs any of the creative arts. This captures all forms of art. For an example, a person who paints can be referred to as an artist. In the modern world, the term artist is also used for musicians as well. Therefore, people often tend to hear the word young artists through media to refer to emerging musicians. Here it is important to highlight that the term artist is not only attributed for those who create art as an occupation, but also for those who are skilled in a particular activity, such as drawing, designing, and composing, and etc. Which means an artist is someone who uses deliberate expertise and creative imagination to make art such as painting, sculpture, and sculpture, music, and or writing. Next, artisan. An artisan from French is called artisan, while in Italian it is artigiano. An artisan is a skilled worker who makes things by hand. This includes various objects ranging from jewelry to furniture. An artisan should not be confused with an artist because there is a clear difference in the things that they create. Um, an artist is someone who uses deliberate expertise and creative imagination to make art, while an artisan is a skilled worker or craftsman, someone is skilled in making product by hand. Next, let us make it more clear by differentiating them. The difference between artists and artisans. Artist is a person who performs any of the creative arts, while artisans is a skilled worker who will make things by hand. An artist is someone who paints, draws, sculpts, make a film, or is skilled with something involving perceptions and the use of their hands, because writing used to be done by longhand writers and poets are also known as an artist. An artist is a professional entertainer, especially a singer or dancer, cabaret artist. An artisan is a skilled worker that uses his hand to make something often functional that will enhance something else. Furniture, gold, leafing, decorative arts like fox finishes, jewelers, upholstery, embroidery, glass blowers, workers like shoemakers, potters, weavers. Bakers are also included in pushing the limits of the term smiths and beer makers. An artist is someone who creates an art by their imaginations, while an artisan uses their hands to make their product. Next, characteristics of artists and artisans. Their functional value. From the word functional value, ito yung kung gumagana ba sila or nagagamit ba sila. Artists, the work of artists, the work of artists or the object that they create has no functional value. Yung ginagawa ng artist, walang functional value kasi nga hindi yun gumagana, hindi yun nagagamit because artist work is for the sake of arts, while yung artisans, the object has a functional value because artisans work are intended the intended purpose is to work to to work to operate, and to functions. Which is more important, the artist or the artwork? The art is more important than the artist. The work is more important than the person who does it. You must be prepared to sacrifice all that you could possibly have, be or do. You must be willing to go all the way for your art. Kapag sa mga balik natin. Sa mga artist yan, alam ko makaka-relate kayo. Kapag gumagawa tayo ng art natin, lalo na kapag pinuhos natin yung focus natin sa mga arts natin, at saka yung art natin, pinapahalaga natin yung bagay, yung mga arts natin. Parang mas importante pa yung art natin kaysa sa pangsarili natin. For example, 'di ba kapag gumagawa tayo ng arts natin, lalo na kapag maganda na, maayos na, nakuha mo na yung gusto mo na timpla dun sa arts mo. Pagkatapos sinasacrifice mo lahat ng oras mo para matapos yung art na yon. Yung sinasacrifice mo lahat para sa art na yon para matapos. Lahat gagawin mo para sa art na yon. Minsan nga, di ba, tinatago pa natin yung mga arts natin, hindi natin pinamimigay kasi nga importante yun sa atin. At minsan, gumagawa tayo ng mga arts natin from the bottom of our hearts. Gumagawa tayo ng mga arts kasi yun yung nasa isip natin, yun yung nararamdaman natin. Minsan, nag-express tayo ng mga emotions and feelings natin through arts. Next. Arts and artists in the different art forms and artworks. Art forms is the traditional categories within the arts include literature, including poetry, drama, story, and so on. The visual arts is painting, drawing, sculpture, and etc. The graphic arts is painting, drawing, design, and other forms expressed on flat surfaces. The plastic arts is sculpture, modeling, and the decorative arts. Art forms is a various elements that make up a work. Ito yung mga art forms, ito yung mga elements para makagawa tayo ng artwork. While artwork, a painting, sculpture, photograph, etc. that is created to be beautiful or to express an important idea or feeling, an artistic work, drawing, photographs, etc. that are included in books, magazines, and other printed materials. Artwork is the result of our art making. That is artwork. Ulitin natin, ang artwork is a various element that make up a work, while artworks is a result of art making. Next. Visual arts are art forms which are primarily visual in nature, art that is visible to the naked eye. Next. Dito naman tayo sa two categories of visual arts. First is graphic arts. Graphic arts are those which are two dimensions. They have length and width. Ang isang example niyan, ito. Kung nakikita nyo to, yan. Ito yung example ng graphic arts, yung katapat na image ng graphic arts, yung nasa taas niya. Ang graphic arts this refers to the arts that rely more on lines or tone than on color, while plastic arts are those that are three-dimensional. They have length, width, and height. Yung what do we mean sa sa three-dimensional? Ito yung tinatawag natin na 3D. Ito yung example niya, 3D. Yung graphic arts, ito yung hindi siya nahahawakan siya pero lang siya, hindi siya kagaya ng plastic arts na three-dimensional. Itong graphic arts is yung graphic arts is rely more on lines, ganon. While yung plastic arts naman, ito yung 3D, three-dimensional arts. Plastic arts are solid objects or 3D. Ulitin natin. Graphic arts are Graphic arts are two-dimensional. They have length, width, which is yung ito yung nagre-rely lang siya sa rely more on lines. While tong plastic arts naman, these are solid objects or which we madalas nating tawagin na 3D or three-dimensional. Next, graphic arts. Graphic arts painting is the process of applying paint, pigment, color, or other medium to a solid surfaces. Painting, ito yung this kind of art uses brush, sponge to create art. Yung painting, diba, alam naman natin ng painting, gumagamit tayo ng brush to create arts. Gumagamit tayo ng sponge at anything na pwedeng gamitin as a tools para makakreate tayo para magamit natin sa painting. Excuse me. Next, these are the examples of paintings. Ito, number 1 is to yung Nestor Laines, Mag-ina sa Banig. Ito yung creator, Nestor Laines. Yung pangalan ng artwork is ang pangalan ng artwork is Mag-ina sa Banig. Second image natin is yung parang may itak, may hawak na itak. This is first Philippine national artist, Defense of a Filipina Women's Honor by Fernando Amor Solo. Ulitin natin, Nestor Laines, Mag-ina sa Banig. And second image, Fernando Amor Solo, first Philippine national artist, Defense of a Filipina Women's Honor. Next. Joey Velasco, Canvas ng Lipunan. Ito naman yung representation ng art na to is yung mga bata sa sa lansangan. Nagre-represent to sa mga bata na nasa lansangan tong artwork na to. Kasi yan. Next is drawing. Drawing is a two-dimensional art form that mainly uses lines and shadings in a medium to form an image. The most common and primitive tools used for drawings are pencils and papers. Drawing, ito yung alam naman natin yung kapag nag-drawing tayo, kailangan natin ng pencils and papers to create an image. To create an image and image, lines, shading, gumagamit tayo ng shadings to create an image or kung ano man ang gusto nating i-draw. Next, types of drawing. Types of drawing. Una nating types of drawing is portrait drawing. Portrait drawing is a drawing of a person or group of people that captures the personality of the subject. Frequently, portraits are commissioned for special occasions such as weddings or school events. Portrait painting is a artistic representation of a person. The intention of this type of drawing is to display likeness personality of people and even the mood of the person. Next, that is portrait drawing. Ito yun. Landscape. Second natin is landscape. Landscape is all the visible features of an area of countryside or land, often considered in terms of their aesthetic appeal. Um, Landscape is to portray natural scenery. Ito yung landscape, ginagamit to para i-portray yung mga natural scenery natin. For example, yung environment natin, yung mga mountains, ganon. Next, figurative drawing. Figurative drawing is a drawing of the human form in any of its various shapes and postures using any of the drawing media. Yung figurative naman, it focus on the interpretations of human figure. Yung pangangatawan natin, ito yung nagre-represent ng figure ng isang human. Yun yung figurative drawing. Next, fantasy drawing is a drawing depicting imaginary, surreal, or visionary themes. Dito naman sa fantasy drawing, is a genre of art that depicts magical or other supernatural. Itong fantasy drawing, ito yung mga inspired by our magical, by fantasy, by supernatural, or minsan yung fantasy drawing, ito yung mga inspired ng mga pinapanood natin na mga magical movies, ganun. Magical ina-apply natin yung pagiging magaling natin sa drawing through sa pagdodraw ng mga napapanood natin, mga magical images. Tapos gagayahin natin, ganon. Next, illustration naman tayo. Illustration is a decoration, interpretation, or visual explanation of a text, concept, or process. Dito naman sa illustration, it is used to explain, clarify, or prove something. For example, ito yung illustration, ito yung ginagamit natin na drawing para magbigay ng babala or magbigay ng babala sa iba. For example, sa mountain ay for example, sa mountain, pagdodrawing tayo ng mountain, tapos sasabihin natin kung ano yung mga bagay na makakapag-harm sa atin kapag pumunta tayo doon. Parang illustration kung ano yung mga, illustration or description ng lugar na pupuntahan natin na yun. Sa illustration din, hindi lang siya yung basta-basta na hindi lang siya basta-basta yung sa mga babala. Nagde-describe din siya ng ibang mga situations. Sabi nga dito, is a decoration, interpretation, visual explanations of a text. Ibig sabihin ng visual explanation of a text, which means is yung naka-describe siya sa text. Tapos, kung ano yung napoportrait ng utak natin, kung ano yung pumapasok sa utak natin na image, yun yung i-drawing natin. Kung ano yung description ng text na yun, yun yung susundan natin. Tapos gagamitin natin yung imagination natin to illustrate that text or concept or process. Susunod, caricature. Ito, example ng caricature. Caricature is the art of exaggerating the visual traits of a person or situation. Creates a powerful, suggestive picture. Caricatures can be insulting or complimentary and can serve a political purpose or be drawn solely for entertainment. Caricature, it is an imitation of someone, of someone, or of someone, or exaggerately representation of someone or something. Ito yung mga drawing na exaggerate yung pagkaka-drawing. Yung pag exaggerate yung pagkaka-drawing para na siyang comics, ganon. Susunod, ito. Still life drawing. Still life drawing is a drawing or painting that focuses on still objects. The subject matter is inanimate and never moves, typically with a focus on household objects, flowers, or fruits. Still life work contrasts figure drawing, which focuses on live, uh, on a live human model. Yung still life drawing naman, ito yung from the word inanimate objects. Ito yung mga objects na this is inanimate means not alive. Ito yung mga drawing na walang buhay. Walang buhay, hindi gumagalaw, ganun. For example, yung sabi nga dito, objects, flowers, or fruits, those are still life drawing. Yan, so meron pa ba? So, yun na yung sa akin. Yung next reporter is si Sir Sydney Palomar. Thank you and God bless.
Good day everyone, I'm Sydney Palomar from 2C and my topic is demonstrate knowledge about the different art forms and artworks as expression of the different artists. First is silk screen, also known as screen printing or serigraphy. This technique uses a stencil to create sharp-edged images for multiple prints. Ito ay design or cut out of paper or another strong material and then printed siya by rubbing or rolling or spraying print or ink. Next is offset printing. The traditional offset system involves transferring an ink image or design on a printing plate to a rubber blanket, which is then applied to a surface that will be printed. Ito ay common printing technique, which yung ink image tinatransfer from plate to a rubber blanket. The next is commercial art. Is historically a subsector of creative service, referring to art created for commercial purposes, primarily advertising. Yung nga itong art na to ay ginagamit for advertising and selling ng products. Tapos computer art is any art in which computers played a role in production or display of the art. Ito yung art that is made or presented using digital technology. Yung example nito is yung mga video, animation, at video game. Photography is the art, science, and practice of creating pictures by recording radiation on a radiation-sensitive medium such as photographic film or electronic image sensor. Ito si Edward Maspier is the father of Philippine photography. Ito, alam naman natin itong photography na ito is yung ginagamit natin dito ay yung ating mga sariling camera, cellphone, or Next is printmaking. It's creating for artistic purposes an image on a matrix which is then transferred to a two-dimensional surfaces by means of ink. Yun nga, ito ay isang artistic process na based on the principle of transferring image from a matrix to another surface. Filmmaking is the process of making a film, generally in the sense of films intended for extensive theatrical exhibition. Ang filmmaking is art because it dwells on your creative abilities. Art din siya because story in your mind cannot create a movie. There is a whole lot of technicalities and procedures to be followed. Dito naman sa plastic arts, ito yung mga art forms na involve modeling or molding, tulad ng sculpture and ceramics. Involved rin dito yung mga solid objects with three-dimensional effects. Tapos ito yung mga example ng plastic arts. Landscape architecture is the design of outdoor and public spaces to achieve environmental, socio-behavioral, and aesthetic outcomes. Dito naman yung architects are the designers of our environment kaya siya naging art. City planning is a technical and political process concerned with the development and design of land use and built environment. Ang sabi dito, focus on the development and design of the land use Interior design is the art of science of enhancing the interior of a building to achieve a healthier and more aesthetically pleasing environment for the people using the space. Dito sa internal design, it is a art or process of designing the interior decoration of a room or a building. Linear focuses on art that is created through linear lines using different materials. Ito yung mga arranged in or extending along a straight or nearly straight line na art. Relief, itong relief na to, ito yung mga sculpture na or sculpted elements na nakaremain attached to a background lang. Tapos dito sa freestanding naman, ito yung mga art na nakatayo, yung parang mga mannequin, ganun. Pagdating naman dito sa kinetic, ito yung which movement driven part of changing electronic is a basic element. Ito yung mga art na, ayan. Tapos ito yung mga example ng mga yan. Thank you.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, classmates. Ang part ko naman sa reporting is literature. Literature is said to be the mother of arts. Literature is derived from Latin litera, meaning an individual, written character, letter, and literature, literally, acquaintance with letters. It is used to describe anything from creative writing to more technical or scientific works, but the term is most commonly used to refer to works of the creative imagination, including works of poetry, drama, fiction, and non-fiction. Literature is a time art. Okay. Literature daw is, sinasabi dito na, the mother of arts, and ang salitang literature is galing sa Latin litera, meaning an individual, and literally acquaintance with letters. Ginagamit ito para i-describe sa lahat ng pag-create ng sining sa mas maraming paraan, pero common na to. Ginagamit na ng karamihan itong technique na to, o itong work na to, para mag-imagine ng mga sining. Kabilang dito ang mga works na ginagawa is the poetry, drama, fiction, and non-fiction. At sinasabi din daw dito na literature is time art. Time art ay sining na nagpapakita ng isang organisado. This is art which present an organized series of stimuli with framing, time span, and therefore must be experienced in sequence as having beginning. Sabi ko nga, nagpapakita ng isang organisasong serye na napakaloob sa isang frame. At sa makaduwid ay dapat paranasan isang pagkakasunod bilang pagkaroon ng isang simula. Categories of literature. We have two categories: imaginative or fiction literature, and pangalawa is non-fiction literature. Sa imaginative or fiction literature, we have 4 examples, which is the poems, short stories, novels, and plays. Sa non-fiction naman is We have two examples: biographies and essay. The classification of literature. Escape literature is written for entertainment purpose, that is, to help us pass time in agreeable manner. Interpretative literature is written to broaden and sharpen of our awareness of life. Sinasabi dito, sinulat ito para sa para mag panghihikayat or para makatulong sa atin na pampalipas oras. Pero may matutunang mga manners of aral sa mga ito. At written to broaden and sharpen. Pinalawak din daw at pinalalim ang awareness of sa ating buhay. Use of literature. Moralizing literature is kind of literature that is used to present moral values for the readers to understand and appreciate. The moral may be directly or indirectly stated. Propaganda literature is kind of literature that was found not only in history books and advertising and marketing books, but also in some books describing one's personal success and achievements in life. Psychological continuum of the individual therapeutic value is kind of literature that provide therapeutic experience to the reader. Ang sabi dito, literature ginagamit ito para mag-present ng moral values or aral sa mga mambabasa at ma-appreciate at maintindihan ito. At sabi dito, ang literature o sining ay hindi lang daw mahanap sa books, advertising and marketing books. Hindi lang daw siya dan, kundi sa talambuhay ng isang tao. Pwede din sa talambuhay ng tao, sa nangyari sa kanya o sa successful sa kanyang buhay, or ano yung natapos niya sa kanyang buhay na maganda at naidulot nito. Meron din tayong general types of literature: prose and poetry. Yung prose which we have 9 examples is novels, short stories, essays, legend, fables, anecdotes, biography, news, meditation. Poetry, narrative poetry, lyrical poetry, dramatic poetry. Matatagal natin ito mamaya. Novel, a fictitious prose narrative book length, typically representing the character action with some degree of realism. Sabi dito, ang sumikat dito is isa sa yung Dracula, isang novel na Dracula. Maganda yun. Napanood ko yun, super ganda, promise. At ito, epistolary novel is a novel written as a series of documents. The usual form is letter, although diary entries, newspapers, clipping, and other documents are sometimes used. The word epistolary is derived from Latin, from the Greek word "pistolo", meaning a letter. Sabi dito, ang epistolary novel daw is written a series of documents. Nakikita daw ito sa diaries, newspapers, and documents. Tsaka ang salitang epistolary is galing sa Latin from the Greek word epistola, meaning letters. Next is the picaresque novel. Picaresque novel is Spanish picaresca, from picaro for rogue or rascal. It's a genre of prose fiction that speaks the adventures of roguish but appealing hero of low social class who lives by his wits in corrupt society. Typically adapt a realistic style with elements of comedy and satire. This style novel originated in Spain in 1554. Originated siya sa Spain noong 1554 and flourished throughout Europe for more than 200 years. The term picaresque novel was only coined in 1810. It continues to influence modern literature. The term is also sometimes used to describe work like Cervantes, Don Quixote, and Charles Dickens' Pickwick Papers, which only contain some of the genre's elements. Meron na Gothic Fiction. Gothic Fiction which is largely known by the subgenre of Gothic horror. Its genre or mode is of literature and film that combines fiction and horror. That at the times romance. Its origin is attributed to English author Horace Walpole with his 1764 novel The Castle of Otranto, subtitled 82nd edition, a Gothic story. Gothic fiction tends to place emphasis on both emotion and pleasurable kind of terror, serving as an intention of romantic literary movement that was relatively new at the time that Walpole's novel was published. The most common of these pleasures among Gothic readers was a sublime, indescribable feeling that take us beyond ourselves. Sabi dito, ang Gothic fiction is largely known by the subgenre of Gothic horror, which mode of literature nag-combine daw dito ang horror, death, and sometimes romance. Nag-origin daw to sa English author na si Horace Walpole with his 1764 novel The Castle of Otranto. It is second edition daw at the Gothic story. Utopian and Dystopian fiction are genres of speculative fiction that explore social and political structure. Utopian fiction portrays a setting that agrees with author's ethos, having various attributes of another reality intended to appeal the readers. Detective novel. It is a subgenre of crime fiction and mystery fiction in which an investigator or detective, either professional, amateur, or retired, investigates a crime often murder. Detective, from the word detective, is more on of investigation. Uh, Scientific fiction, um, sometimes shortened to sci-fi or sci-fi or is a genre of speculative fiction that typically deals with imaginative and futuristic concepts such as advanced science and technology, space exploration, time travel, and parallel, and extra extraterrestrial life. Uh, it is more on about science like um, experiment, yun. Nature novel is a literary genre that started as a movement in late 19th century in literature, film, theater, and art. It is type of extreme realism. This movement suggests the role of family, social condition, and environment in shaping human character. Thus, naturalistic writers write stories based on the idea that the environment determines and governs human character. Um, ito naman is nakafocus siya sa ating Mother Earth or inang kalikasan. And psychological novel is one of the focuses on the complex mental and emotional lives of its character and explore the various levels of mental activity. The psychological novel naman is nakafocus siya sa ating health. Sa ating health. Emotions like kumbaga pag may emotion kang naramdaman is dun siya nakafocus. And next is religious novel. Alam naman natin itong religious novel is the literary fiction that has religious element. Some people tend to think of religious items of fiction as having to do with the religious affiliation of the author, but generally, experts only consider this religious fiction. It is address religious elements in the artwork. The religious novel is about the about human creator. Is the about religion, which is the if you nanonood ka sa sa channel 3 is the Superbook Bible. The social novel is also known as the social problem or social protest novel. It's a work of fiction in which prevailing social problems such as gender, race, or class prejudice is dramatized through its effect on the characters of novel. Social, it is about naman sa ating about sa ating society, which is the human race. Tama, human race. Kumbaga sa if you are kung ikaw ay maitim, maputi, bango o dito na nakakapekto the characters of novel. Romance novel or romantic novel is typical of novel and literary fiction which plays its primarily focus on the relation and romantic love between two people and usually has an emotionally satisfying and optimistic ending. Ito naman is nakafocus sa love team ng dalawang taong couple nagmamahal sa isa't isa, which is mayroong itong sweet na pag-iibigan. Yan, sentimental novel or the novel of sensibility in 18th century literacy genre which celebrate the emotional and intellectual concept of sentimentalism, and sensibility. They feature signs of distress and tenderness. The, the plot is arranged to advance both emotion and action. Ang sentimental novel or the novel of sensibility is an noong 18th century literacy genre which celebrates the emotional and mental sentiments. Legend. A legend is a story about human events or action that has not been proved nor documented in real story. Legends are retold as if they are real events and were believed to be historical accounts. They usually tell stories about things that could be possibly so. Both the storyteller and the audience may believe they are true. The meaning stems from the medieval Latin term legenda, meaning things to be read, and the Latin legendus. Literature, a fable. Pronouns fable is a short fiction story that has moral or teaches a lesson. Fables are humanized animal objects or part of nature as a main character, and they're more considered to be subgenre of fantasy. Ito yung fable is nakafocus sa character. Kumakatawan naman ito sa hayop. Hindi kumakatawan sa hayop na character. An ugly warty frog sat on his lily pad, enjoyed the sunshine. Another frog hopped along and said, "Wow, you are hideous. There is no way you will never find a mate." Just then, a beautiful princess came to the pond, scooped up the ugly frog, and planted a big kiss on his warty nose. Instantly turned into a tall, handsome prince and walked off hand in hand with the princess, as the other frog watched with his mouth wide in astonishment. Never judge a book by its cover. Essay. Essay is a short literary composition in prose dealing with single matter, usually from personal point of view. Thus, it is a revelatory of the author's state opinions, prejudice, and moods in general personality. Essay may either be formal or informal, but there are more specific subdivision. Reflection essay is one that constitutes a critical examination of life experience and is to diary entries, except that others will be reading it. It's need to have a great deal of coherence and good structures. Yung reflection essay is nakatuon siya sa experience. Kumbaga, reflection mo sa kunyari may pinanood sa inyo. What is your, may pinanood kayong trailer or movie, and dapat may reflection kayo dun sa pinanood nyo. Anong natutunan nyo, ganun. Descriptive essay is a series of essay that asks the students to describe something, object, persons, place, experience, emotion, situation, etc. Descriptive essay, ito naman yung um, kumbaga, may pinuntahan kaya ganun. Tatuloy ka ng teachers mo, kung anong nangyari, anong ganap sa pinunta nyo araw na yon. Narrative essay is a type of essay that a single motive or central point around which the whole narrative revolves. All incidents happening and characters revolve around a single motive presented in the narrative. Ito naman is the personal experience, which is the personal experience. Narrative essay is similar to simplified paragraph essay that is the same format. It is only different that it is narrative, having characters, incidents, and dialogues. Ito naman, expository essay is a journey of essay that requires the student to investigate an idea, evaluate evidence, expand on the idea, and set forth an agreement concerning that idea in clear and concise manner. Ito naman is about sa itong expository essay is the evaluate evidence or pag-imbestiga sa nangyari, which is the newspapers, articles, or may samples tayo sa expository. May samples yan is the how to manuals assembly instruction, kung paano bumuo ng kumbaga may bubuin kang hindi mo alam gawin. Basahin mo yung manual instruction and persuasive essay, also known as the agreement essay. It is a piece of academic writing where you use logic and reason to show that your point of view is more legitimate than any others. You must expose clear arguments and support them by convincing fact and logical reason. Persuasive o pagkikayat, kumbaga to persuade like tatakbo ka as a president council or student council or president. Biography essay is an essay where you tell the story of a person's life, something that really reveals the essence of who they were or are, who they are. Critical essay is a type of academic writing where the authors analyze and evaluates a text. For an essay to become critical, you need to claim the text's particular ideas and then support that claim with evidence. Nature essay is one that attempts to picture the world of God's creation and may do so in a graphic or pictorial vein of the more thoughtful philosophical manner. Periodical essay was a new literary form of the emerged during the early part of the 19th century. Periodical essay typically appeared in foldable publication that came out regularly, usually 2 or 3 times a week, were only 1 or 2 pages in length. Didactic essay, so written from a second person point of view. Didactic essay focus more on instructing than entertaining. Anecdote. Um, an anecdote is very short story that is significant to the topic at hand, usually uh, adding personal knowledge or experience to the topic. Basically, anecdotes are a story. Like many stories, anecdotes are most often told through speech. They are spoken rather than written down. Example: picture a mother and father discussing whether or not to get a dog for the family. That says, when I was a kid, my dog was my best friend. My childhood was better because of him. The mother contemplates his story, he gave his anecdote, and then agrees that they should get a dog. Below are several typical types of anecdotes. Humorous. An anecdote that adds humor to the topic at hand. For example, two friends are arguing about driving direction. The drive uh, the driver tells the passenger to turn off the GPS, insisting that he knows the way. The passenger replies, "Oh, like the time we turned it off and ended up out in the middle of the cow farm." We then see a flashback of their car surrounded by loudly mooing cows. Ito naman humor is yung nakakatawang moments nila. O, yung nakakatawang pangyari nila noon. Reminiscence is a story that remembers something. Reminiscence naman is a story that remembers something general about the past or a specific event expressed in a way such as that reminds me of when I used to, I remember when, and so on. For example, a child asked her grandmother for two, two, pe- uh, 2 pesos US dollars, $2 to buy candy at the store, and the grandma says, back in my day, all you needed was a penny to go to the candy shop. My grandmother would give me a nickel and I'd be happy clown. Dito naman sa reminiscence is the nakapagpaalala napaka-sweet na alaala. And philosophical is an anecdote expressed in order to make other things more deeply about the topic at hand. For example, a group of college students are discussing the morality of lying. Most are the dito naman sa philosophical is the about history and inspirational. An anecdote that is told in order to inspire hope or other positive emotion. They are often about not giving up, achieving goals or dream, making possible, and so on. For example, a doctor talking to a group of war amputees tells them about soldier who came in with no hands and no hope, but left the hospital holding his newborn baby in his prosthetic hands. Dito na sa inspirational is yung nakaka-inspire na pangyayari sa buhay. Nakaka-inspire na pangyayari sa buhay. Kusinari. cautionary is the stories that was warn others about the danger or negative consequence surrounding the topic at hand. For example, a speaker is giving a talk to a teenager about the risk of using drugs. During his presentation, he reminds them a well-known street student who died of heroin overdose a few years before, warning them that it could happen to anyone. Yung siya is pag-iingat. Pag-iingat. Ah. Next is the biography. Biography is simply an account or detailed description about the life of person. It details basic facts such childhood, education, career, relationship, family, and death. Biography is literary genre that portray the experience of all these events occurring in the life of persons, mostly in chronological order, unlike resume of profile. Biography provides a life story of subject highlighting different aspects of his or her life. A person who writes biography is called as a biographer. Biography known as talambuhay o description of a person's life. Types of bibliography. These are three types of bibliography. Bibliography is the popular biography, historical biography, and literary biography. Autobiography tells the story of person's own life. While the person writes his own account, he or she may take guidance from the ghostwriter or collaborator. Collaborator. Biography. A biography narrates the life story of persons as written by another person or writer. It's further divided into three categories. This is the popular biography, historical biography, and literary biography. Memoir is more focused writing than autobiography or biography. Memoir is the writer narrates the details of particular events or situation that occurred in his or her lifetime. A newspaper is periodical publication containing written information about current events, and it's often typed in black ink and with a white or gray background. Newspaper can provide variety of fields such as political, business, sports, and art. Often include materials such as opinion, columns, weather forecasts, reviews of local service, features, birth notice, crosswords, editorial cartoons, comic strip, and advice column. Narrative poetry is a form of poetry that tells a story, often making the voice of the writer and characters as well. The entire story is usually written in metered verse. Narrative poems do not need rhyme. The poems make it this genre may be short or long, and the story relates to may be complex. It is normally dramatic with objects, diverse, and meters. Narrative poems include epics, ballads, idylls, and lays. Lyrical poetry is a formal type of poetry which expresses personal emotions or feelings, typically spoken in the first person. It is not equivalent to song lyrics. They are often into lyric mode that the term service derives from a form of ancient Greek literature, the lyric, which was defined by its musical literary accompaniment, usually on string instrument known as the lyre. The term owes its importance in literary theory. The division developed by Aristotle between three broad categories of poetry: lyrical, dramatic, and epic. Theater is a collaborative form of performing art that uses live performers, typically actors or actresses, to present the experience of real imaginative event before a live audience in specific place, often a stage. The performer may communicate this experience to the audience through combination of gesture, speech, song, music, and dance. Elements of art such as a paint, scenery, and stagecraft such as lighting are used to enhance the physicality, presence, and vibrancy of the experience. The specific place of the performance is also named by the word theatre. Theatre is derived from the ancient Greek theatron, a place for moving itself from to see. Right. It's itself from theaming, to see, to watch, to observe. Drama. Drama is the specific mode of fiction present in performance. Play, opera, mime, ballet, etc. performed in theater or in radio or television, considered as a genre of poetry. In general, the dramatic mood has been contrasted with the epic and lyrical modes ever since Aristotle's Poetics. The earliest work of dramatic theory, the term drama, came from a Greek word meaning action. Classical Greek drama, which is derived from I do. Classical Greek spo, draw. The two most associated with dramas present the traditional gender division between comedy and tragedy. Alam naman natin is drama is a part of the performance, like play, opera, mime, and ballet, etc. Diba nakikita naman natin ito sa mga TV napapanood natin, and that's we have Moro depicts the battle between the Christians and Muslims, the adaptation of the legends about knight errant and princess. And Carillo, it is shadow play using puppets made from cardboard. The theme were derived from the libretto from Don Quixote, Buhay ng Mahal ng Panginoong Hesukristo. And Zarzuela is a piece of entertainment with improvised plot that used in comic, tragic, fantastic, melodramatic, or combination of all. Later, this fiesta di Zarzuela were simply called Zarzuela, that involves singing and dancing in it. It has no definite form. Singing was free and imaginative. Next is Cenaculo, is the traditional dramatization of the events regarding Jesus Christ suffered before and after crucify him. Derivative such tradition in the Bible and other texts, apocrypha, usually held in the streets or in the yard of the church. The biggest adventure you can take is to live the life of your dreams. That's all. That's all. Diyan po ang aking part sa reporting. Thank you po.
Good evening everyone, I am Maria Shanta Paula Tangonan Patdu and I am going to discuss the last remaining topics under the Module 4. So first, we have here the production process. Under the production process, nahahati yan sa 3 main stages, namely pre-production, production, and the post-production. Kapag sinabi natin pre-production, it is the work done on a product, especially a film or broadcast program, before full-scale production begins. So, dito papasok yung planning, scripting, and then storyboarding. Na kung saan, sa filmmaking kasi or video production, before magkaroon ng pre-production, kailangan muna ng go signal. Na kung saan, kailangan ng gumawa ng isang project or kailangan ng simulan yung isang project. So, of course, paano ka mag-i-start ng pre-production if wala ka namang project na kailangan gawin? So, kailangan natin ng go signal. So, yun nga, gaya nga ng sabi, dito pumapasok yung planning, scripting, and storyboarding, na kung saan lahat ng mangyayari is dapat planado na. From the cast, yung mga costumes, yung mga props na gagamitin is kailangan planado na. And then yung sa shooting, kunwari, umaga yung scene, of course, kailangan planuhin na ganitong oras. And then, kung gabi, dapat planuhin na ganitong oras. So, lahat ng mangyayari is kailangan planado. And then, sa scripting naman, so dito, kapag nabigay na yung mga script, and then yung mga scenes, of course, nagkakaroon yan ng read-through of the script or lahat ng cast, kasama yung mga managers, producers, gano'n, and then yung mga ibang kasama pa sa film, is kailangan, yun nga, gagawa sila ng read-through of the script para alam or ituturo sa kanila kung paano nila papasukan yung isang scene, anong mangyayari sa scene na yun, and then kung ano yung tone, mood sa scene na yun. So, ganun ang mangyayari sa pre-production. And then sa production naman, so, it is the action of making or manufacturing from components of raw materials or the process of being so manufactured. So, dito na pumapasok yung actual shooting or actual recording na kung saan lahat ng plinano natin sa pre-production is i-apply na natin sa production. So, yung mga props, yung plinano natin props, mga costumes, and then yung cast, of course, andun na, i-film na sila kung saan kailangan yung actual footage or yung footage na makuha is high quality na. So, yung mga na-records, kailangan tama na sila or okay na. Kasi, sabi, kapag nasa production process na tayo, i-aim na daw na high quality of footage yung makukuha natin. Kasi kapag pumunta tayo sa post-production, hindi na siya makokorek doon. So, kailangan tama na lahat sa production natin. So, sa post-production naman tayo. So, post-production is the work done that is done on a film or recording after filming or recording has taken place. So, dito pumapasok na yung everything between the production and the creating of the final master copy. So, yun nga, papasok dito yung cutting, editing, yung adding of colors, adjusting of sounds, mga background music, and background noise. So, dito kailangan natin ng post-production kasi bago tayo pumunta sa pinaka-final copy ng product natin, of course, i-adjust muna natin yung mga sounds. Kung mas malakas yung mga background music, kung mas malakas yung background noise, of course, kailangan nating i-equalize yan para sa mas ikagaganda ng project natin. So, yun yung sa post-production. And then, clarification lang. So, kapag sinabi nga natin na pre-production, dito papapasok yung planning, scripting, and then yung storyboarding. Kapag production naman, dito na papasok yung actual shooting and recording. And then sa post-production, so dito na yung creating of the final master copy. So, let's move forward na sa different roles of curators, managers, buyers, collectors, and dealers. So, first, we have here the art curators. So an art curator is responsible for implementing and managing art exhibitions and collections, typically at museums by collecting, organizing, evaluating, and cataloging arts, collectibles, and historical items. They also participate in conceptualizing exhibitions, researching artwork, and doing outreach for organizations by providing instructional activities, educational, and public service programs. So, yung main role ng ating art creators, gaya nga ng sabi, they are they are acquiring, collecting, and cataloging work of arts, as well as ensuring the overall care ng mga items na nasa loob ng museums or gagamitin for exhibitions. So, art curator also involves in research kasi gumagawa yan ng mga, or they are writing articles na kung saan yun nga gagamitin nila to give lectures. So, duties and responsibilities. So, may mga different duties and responsibilities yung art curators natin na kailangan nilang gawin to accomplish their tasks in exhibitions or implementing exhibitions and managing collections. So, dito papasok yung manage collections, develop and implement exhibitions, research and publication, administer public program. So, dun muna tayo sa manage collections. So, the art curator must record and catalog all artworks and items in collections, including researching objects for the purpose of identification and authentication. So, dito kailangan nakalist out lahat ng items. Then, yung art curator natin, kailangan nilang i-ensure yung adequate care of the objects na nasa museum and yun nga, yung mga gagamitin sa exhibitions. Sometimes they are also responsible for the acquisition of new collection items and overseeing museum purchases and gifts. So, yun yung role ng yun yung duties ng art curators when it comes sa pag-manage ng collections. So, sa develop and implement exhibitions naman. So, conceptualizing, planning, and installing exhibitions is a crucial part of the job ng mga art curators natin. So, this include acquisitions and exhibitions, proposals, planning, and the presentation of the installing artworks and objects, as well as the creating labels and interpret the materials and training docents and other museum staffs on exhibitions, presentation, and information. So, yung docent, yun yung mga person who acts as a guide, typically on a voluntary basis, especially in a museum, art gallery, or even in zoo. So, yung sa develop and implement exhibitions nga. So, yun, tinatrain nila yung mga docents and other museum staffs. Research and publication. So, dito naman, art curator must play an active role in the art community by publishing research and information to journals, catalogs, and books. So, they are responsible for maintaining updated knowledge of the art market and in-depth knowledge of their collections and exhibitions. Of course, dito, sa research and publication, dapat lahat is up to date. Yung mga informations na nilalagay is dapat na-research ng maayos. Tsaka based on facts lahat, hindi pwedeng hula-hula lang. So, next, administer public programs. Art curators must develop and oversee educational programs and donor cultivation plans for their organization. They are responsible for creating and strengthening educational and interpretational materials and curricula, building relationships with the community and training teachers and museum staff. So, yung mga art curators natin, they administer public programs in order for us or for everyone to maintain a strong relationship with the public. So, yun yung dito sa administer public programs. Kung bakit nag-a-administer ng public programs, yung art curators natin is for us or for everyone to maintain a strong relationship with the public. So, skills. So, yung mga art curators natin, may mga skills yan. So, they are knowledgeable enough interfield, highly educated and excellent communicators with strong interpersonal skills. So, meron tayong core skills or pumapasok dito sa art creator skills yung core skills and yung advanced skills. So, kapag sinabing core skills, employers want art creators with these core skills. If you want to work as an art creator, you need to focus on the following skills. So, number 1, having a deep knowledge of arts including artists, artistic forms, and artistic methods. So, of course, dapat maalam ang art creator in everything related about arts. Number 2, processing specialized knowledge on specific subjects in art and history. So, dito dapat knowledgeable yung mga art creators in a specific topic, hindi lang about sa arts, kundi kailangan na ring alamin yung about sa history. So, number 3, working in museum settings with knowledge of exhibitions, development, and operations as well as curatorial practices. So, yun nga, dapat maalam din sa mga exhibitions and of course other things about curatorial process or practices yung isang art curators or yung kailangang skills ng art curator, so dapat maalam siya. Number 4, developing relationships with important collectors, artists, scholars, and others in the art market. So, dapat alam or magkaroon ng magandang pakikisama sa mga tao yung isang art curators, especially doon sa mga taong related or mahilig sa arts. Then, number 5, researching artists and related subjects. Number 6, managing multiple projects and collaborating with cross-functional teams. So, dito, dapat may kakayahang mag-manage ng mga projects. Gaano man karami yung projects na yon, yung art creators or yung mag-a-apply as art creators. Then, dapat makipag-collaborate din with other teams, of course, to share and gather information. So, kaya niya dapat na makipag-collaborate sa other teams. So, advanced skills. So, while most employers did not require the following skills, multiple job listing included them as preferred. And add this to your art creator toolbox and broaden your career options. So, ayun. May mga employers daw na din nire-require yung 6 skills na binanggit ko na. But, yung iba naman is ibinibigay or nilalagay nila yung mga core skills as preferred. So, kung gusto natin na mas maging maalam pa tayo at of course for us to have advanced skills, i-practice na natin yung mga core skills na yun, especially if we really want to be an art curator. So, next, art managers. The art manager performs research analysis, analyzes target markets, and consider artistic requirements of clients. So, yung sa art managers natin, sila yung nagre-research para sa target market, kung kanino or kung sino yung mga bibili ng mga artworks and also kung kanino natin ibebenta. And syempre, kailangan din na i-consider nila yung mga artistic requirements ng mga clients. So, hindi lang kabod na naghanap sila ng bibili or naghanap sila ng pagbibilhan. So, most art managers are also the one who hires, train, and supervise artists, animators, or cartoonists, illustrators, photographers, graphic designers, or the other employers within the department. So, yon, sila din daw yung nag-hire ng mga staffs or yung mga employees. So, next is art gallery managers. So, art gallery managers oversees the planning, preparation, and maintenance of exhibits in their galleries. So, they also schedule programs and staff of their working gallery needs and may also arrange for the work to be transported. They need a degree in art management or related fields. So, of course, yung mga art gallery managers natin, kailangan art-related yung mga natapos nilang kurso or yung sa field nila is art-related. Of course, paano ka nga ba magiging art manager kung hindi naman related sa art yung field na natapos mo? So, art buyers. It is an art buyer's job to produce commercial advertisements or advertising projects while maintaining creative integrity within a budget. So they understand all of the project needs and are able to source the appropriate vendors. So dito naman, yung mga art buyers, they are attracting the public on a specific product of art. And at the same time, andun pa rin yung integrity sa budget. So, yung mga projects is alam nila na may appropriate vendors para sa mga yon. So, art collectors. Art collectors are different than donors who support the cultural production by giving money. So, collectors are totally involved in the market or in the art market and have general important artistic knowledge. They often are specialized in a specific sector. They support the artistic creation, develop the art market. Yung mga collectors, involved sila sa art market and syempre mayroon silang enough knowledge about sa arts. So, art dealers. So, an art dealer typically seeks out various artists to represent and builds relationship with collectors and museums whose interests are likely to match the work of the represented artist. When dealers buy works of art, they resell them either in their galleries or directly to collectors. So, yung mga art dealers naman, so naghahanap lang sila ng mga artists. So that yung mga artist na yon sila yung makikipag-communicate sa mga collectors or even in museums na kung saan magmamatch yung hinahanap ng mga collectors sa work of art na meron yung mga artist or yung isang artist na yon. So then yung mga art dealers, yung mga nabibili nila na artwork is ibinebenta rin nila yon. So bibili sila or kung sakali mong may mabili sila, ibebenta nila yon sa mga art galleries or magdadirect sila sa mga art collectors. So, next topic na tayo, which is yung the national and Gamaba artists' notable works and their contributions to society. So, dito pahapyaw lang to. Bali, ni-research ko na lang kung sino nga ba yung mga national or Gamaba artist awardees natin. So, national and Gamaba artist awardees. We have here si Ginaw Bilog, Masino Intaray, Samaon Sulaiman, Lang Dulay, Salinta Monon, Alonzo Zaclag, Federico Caballero, Uwang Ahadas, Tarhata Sawabi, Eduardo Mutok, Hadja Amina Api, Teofilo Garcia, and Magdalena Gamayo. So, ano nga ba yung mga contribution nitong mga Gamaba awardees natin sa society? So, yung contribution nila is dahil sa nakilala sila sa buong mundo, bukod pa doon sa nakilala sila sa halos sa buong mundo, of course, dahil sa mga gawa nila or yung sa mga work of arts nila is parang nakilala na rin yung lugar nila and even yung Philippines nang dahil sa kanila. And also, dahil sa mga work of arts nila or mas napatagal pa or parang na-preserve pa yung mga work of arts na gawa nila, parang hindi agad nakalimutan. So, yun yung contribution nila sa society. So, papahapyawan ko lang, we have here si Ginaw Bilog. So, he was known for his efforts in preserving the Mangyan poetry tradition of Ambahan. While si Masimo Intaray naman, an outstanding master of Basal, Kulilal, and Bagit. Silang Dulay, she is created with preserving her people's tradition of weaving tinalak, so a dyed fabric made from refined abaca fiber. Alonzo Zaclag, so Kalinga master of dance and the performing arts from Lubwagan, Kalinga. Hadja Amina Api, Filipino master mat weaver and teacher from the Sama indigenous people of Ungos, Matata, Tandubas. So, Tawi-Tawi. Sa Tawi-Tawi. So, she was created for creating colorful pandan mats with complex geometric patterns. So we have here si Samaon Sulaiman, achieved the highest level of excellence in the art of kutiapi playing. Si Eduardo Mutok, so Kapampangan Master, craftsman of religious and secular art in plated silver. So si Uwang Ahadas, cited for his talent and expertise in playing various Yakan musical instruments, and for sharing his knowledge to the young people of his community. Federico Caballero, so Filipino epic chanter siya. Kilala siya sa mga gawa niya na Tikum Kadlum, Amburukoy, Drikaryong Pada, Pahagunong, Kalampay, Sinagnayan, Balanakon, and Humadapnon. So way back grade 11 or 12 or even mga grade 10 pa lang siguro is napag-aralan natin or napahapyawan na natin yung mga work of art ni Federico Caballero. Medyo familiar na siguro tayo doon sa mga nabanggit. So, Darhata Sawabi. So, Filipino weaver from Parang, Sulu, known for his Peace Shabit, a traditional tausug cloth, tapestry worn as a head covering by the people of Holo. So, si Salin Tamonon, she was known for her Bagobo Tagabawa textile and was known as the last Bagobo weaver. Teofilo Garcia, so is the best known for his work with tabungaw, a unique, functional, all-weather headpiece made of native gourd. And lastly, we have here si Magdalena Gamayo, master weaver of the Inabel cloth, the historical cotton fabric bartered for gold in the Galilean trade and mentioned in the classic Ilocano epic Biyag ni Lamang. So that's all. Thank you for listening and God bless us all.